Alrighty, so those of you who have not heard what this project was developed over the course of after reading Job multiple times and with various questions that were asked about the time phases and the way that the poet definitely plays with the metaphor light, and he does it in all kinds of different ways. Light means knowledge, darkness means ignorance, light means life, darkness means death, and frankly, it kept shifting all over the place. So that's part of the poetry, is who can outdo the other one in metaphor and reapplying previous metaphors. We see that a lot in the book of Job. Now, that idea caused me, in my text copy of Job, I went through and I highlighted every dark word and every light word, including things that give light. I mean, thankfully in English we have words like lightning, okay, because it gives light and darkness, but it's a meteorological thing that comes from a storm cloud. So anyway, I would highlight that with light. So after seeing all this, I thought I kind of saw a pattern, and I thought, well, maybe Job definitely can be read as a play. That's not a new idea. Many of other people have thought about it that way. It'd be a really long play. Everyone's long-winded, right? Don't worry, we're not going to read the entire book tonight, because I've abridged it. I think I did quite well, too, the way I abridged it. I'm not going to lie. I had to cut certain things out. What I kept, I thought, were the parts that would demonstrate the environmental image that I want to give. Because what I think is, well, maybe we should picture Job as taking place over the course of days. Actually, not only through noonday heat, like when Job says, like a hireling who longs for shadow. Hey, where's he talking about? He's talking about like the sweat that you feel at noonday. You just want to go hang out underneath your siesta tree. Okay, so noon. But then you have night images too, where they talk about, look at the stars and the moon. Okay, they're talking at night now. So maybe these conversations take place over a series of days. In order to help us try to imagine that, I have not done something that cannot be challenged. This is a fig Newton of my imagination. Take it or leave it. But I do think there's something to it, a little bit. So, this is my methodology, just to understand. In order to construct the setting for the speeches, because these speeches take place in an environment, in a context, and very often we don't imagine the environment. We read scripture just like, oh yeah, word, 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 word. What's the context of the words? Not meaning like the words around it, but the environment in which the words are being spoken. Okay? In order to construct the setting for the speeches, all clear references in this here little play to environmental clues have been called. I've selected them all out from all the monologues, including Yahweh's. Most of these comprise of oblique references to day and night, or light and darkness. Others are more concrete, such as stars, moon, and sun. Also considered are meteorological references, mainly storm phenomena, clouds, rain, thunder, lightning. The order of the original text is maintained. That's another thing you need to know. I excised parts in order to speed it along, but I did not move parts out of place. So I wanted to get the sequence of time correctly, if there is such a thing. You can reject it if you want, but I think it's pretty cool. So the order of the original text is maintained. The only editorial decision, that's me, editor, has been to excise for the sake of brevity, not because it's not worth something, because scripture, every word is worth something. Only for the sake of brevity, because there's no way you could sit here and listen to us talk for 3 hours. Non-descriptive texts and the introduction of celestial voices for the hymn to wisdom. Okay, so I am going with the theory that the hymn to wisdom, what chapter is that? It's like 28, I think. I'm going with the theory that the hymn to wisdom, which interrupts Job's final conclusion, is an interlude, and I'm not going to read that. I'm supplying that. The scripture itself does not make a clear reference. except for right after the hint of wisdom, it says, Job continued his discourse. Okay, so I'm going with somebody else is speaking that, so I'm making that up. I think there's some justification for it, but it's debatable. So for my celestial voices, I have chosen 3 lovely ladies here who are going to supply the mysterious voices coming from who knows where. Okay? Since it's part of the interlude, I actually think that the voices, the celestial voices, are for the audience's sake. And I'm going to pretend, and my 3 friends are going to pretend, that we can't even hear it. Rather, we will pause mid-action, and you all will hear about how man searches for wisdom, like he searches for gold. He brings to light things in dark places. But where can wisdom be found, etc., etc.? Because that's what the book of Job is all about. Who knows what? Job knows nothing. I think that's the conclusion of the book of Job. Who can know more than God? No one. So I got celestial voices. I've added them in. I'm very excited about that. The result gives the main flow of the story within a hypothetical changing landscape. Okay, so that's my methodology. Now, before I start, I need to just introduce my characters. Okay? Now, only the book of Job you can do this with. And it's the only book in the entire Bible that actually has speaking parts, as far as like, and so-and-so said, and so-and-so said, and so-and-so said, and so-and-so continued saying. Okay, like, there's a reason why some people think it might be a play, because of the way it's written. It's the only book that does that. So, voices / characters, because some voices don't actually have a physical character. No one, Job says he sees God with his eyes at the end of the play. Okay? But none of you are going to see God. So God is going to be a voice in the back of the room who's going to speak over your heads at the end. Okay? So I have a Yahweh. That's going to be Dr. Solis. I have a narrator, which is Carlos Solis. Okay? Narrator has very short points. Beginning and end. Okay? Then you got Job, the man from Uz. Yours truly. Eliphaz, the Temanite. Raise your hand. Michael, run. Bildad, the Shuhite. Yes, William. Zophar, the Nathanaite. Jay. Ray. Sorry, Ray. Celestial voices. Unknown location. And who are they? I don't know. Okay. Alina, Rebecca, Annika. Okay. Elihu, the son of Barakel, the Buzite of the family of Ram. Yes. Yeah. Don't you see? Now, I just took the editor's little positives for these people. And you can see how Elihu is like really like jazzed up a little bit, huh? Yeah, you see, sometimes when you just pull the parts out, you're like, whoa, okay, who's this Elihu guy? The son of Barakel, the Buzite of the family of Ram. Okay, so you're going to start there, but you know you're going to like come in here later on, right? Because who's Elihu? We don't know who he is. He just shows up later on. And he starts poking around. And then he speaks. So we need to find a place where he's going to speak from. I didn't do that. Okay, this is what you're going to do. Huh? Wait. Yeah. Okay, so this is what we want to do. He's going to yell at me back here. He can do that. Okay? Because, yeah, and he should be above you guys, because that's how he's going to talk. He's going to talk like he's above your guys' head. Okay, so you feel free, though, like to walk around, whatever, but that's where your home base is back there, okay? Okay? All right. Okay. Anything else? I don't think so. Okay, so last point, too. Sorry. Once we get into these slides, so I drew pictures for the changing of the settings. And I made an artistic mistake, which is I drew too much detail. And so it's going to look blurry, because this projector can't get the small details, so it looks like fuzzy lines. Sorry, my bad. It looks great on my computer. I'm going to be watching over here. Okay, so the days of Job. Okay, leave the lights on. Okay, because I want the narrator to speak first. And then right when he's done, you can turn him off and go to night, okay? The days of Job.
When Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that had come upon him, they came from each from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and so forth the Naamathite. They made an appointment together to come condole with him and comfort him. And when they saw him from afar, they did not recognize him, and they raised their voices and wept. And they tore their robes and sprinkled dust upon their heads towards heaven. And they sat with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his suffering was very great.
Let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night which said, a man-child is conceived. Let that day be darkness. May God above not seek it, nor light shine upon it. Let gloom and deep darkness claim it. Let clouds dwell upon it, let the blackness of the day terrify it. That night, let thick darkness seize it. Let it not rejoice among the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of the months. Yes, let that night be barren. Let no joyful cry be heard in it. Let those curse it who curse the day, who are skilled to rouse up Leviathan. Let the stars of its dawn be dark. Let it hope for light, but have none, nor see the eyelids of the morning, because it did not shut the doors of my mother's womb, nor hid trouble from my eyes. Why is light given to him who is in misery, and life to the bitter in soul, who long for death, but it comes not, and dig for it more than for hidden treasures, who rejoice exceedingly and are glad when they find the grave? Why is light given to a man whose way is hidden, whom God has hedged in? For my sign comes as my bread, and my groanings are poured out like water. For the thing that I fear comes upon me, and what I dread befalls me. I am not at ease, nor am I quiet. I have no rest, but trouble comes.
If one ventures a word with you, will you be offended? Yet who can keep from speaking? A word was brought to me stealthily. My ear received the whisper of it. Amid thoughts from visions of the night, when deep sleep falls on men, dread came upon me, and trembling, which made all my bones shake. A spirit glided past my face. The hair on my flesh stood up. I stood still, but I could not discern its appearance. A form was before my eyes. There was silence. Then I heard a voice. Can mortal men be righteous before God? Can a man be pure before his Maker? Even in his servant he puts no trust, and his angels he charges with error. How much more those who dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in dust, who are crushed before the moth. Between morning and evening they are destroyed. They perish forever, without any regarding it. They meet with darkness in daytime, and grope at noonday as in night. Behold, happy is the man whom God reproves. Therefore, despise not the chastening of the Almighty.
What is my strength that I should wait? And what is my end that I should be patient? Is my strength the strength of stones, or is my flesh bronze? In truth, I have no help in me, and any resource is driven far from me. My brethren are as a torrent bed, as freshlets that pass away. In time of heat they disappear. When it is hot, they vanish from their place. Such you have now become to me. You see my calamity and are afraid. Has not man a hard service upon earth? And are not his days like the days of a hireling? Like a slave who longs for the shadow, and like a hireling who looks for his wages. So I am allotted months of emptiness, and nights of misery are portioned to me. When I lie down, I say, when shall I arise? But the night is long, and I am full of tossing till the dawn. When I say, my bed will comfort me, my couch will ease my complaint, then you scare me with dreams and terrify me with visions, so that I would choose strangling and death rather than my bones. I loathe my life. I would not live forever. Let me alone, for my days are a breath. What is man that you make so much of him, and that you set your mind upon him? Visit him every morning, test him every moment.
How long will you say these things, and the words of your mouth be a great wind? Does God pervert justice, or does the Almighty pervert the right? For I inquire, I beg you, of bygone ages, and consider what the fathers have found. For we are but of yesterday, and know nothing, for our days on earth are a shadow. Will they not teach you and tell you, and utter words out of their understanding?
Truly I know that it is so. But how can a man be just before God? He is wise in heart and mighty in strength. He who commands the sun and it does not rise. He who seals up the stars, who alone stretched out the heavens and trampled the waves of the sea. Who made the bear and the Orion, the Pleiades, and the chambers of the south? Who does great things beyond understanding and marvelous things without number? Behold, he passes by me. I see him not. He moves on, but I do not perceive him. Behold, he snatches away. Who can hinder him? Who will say to him, what are you doing? I loathe my life. I will give free utterance to my complaint. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. Why did you bring me forth from the womb? Would that I had died before any eye had seen me, and were as though I had not been. Carried from the womb to the grave, are not the days of my life few? Let me alone, that I may find a little comfort. For I go from where I shall not return, to the land of gloom and deep darkness, the land of gloom of chaos, where light is as darkness.
Can you find out the deep things of God? Can you find out the limit of the Almighty? It is higher than heaven. What can you do? Deeper than Sheol. What can you know? If you set your heart up aright, you will stretch out your hands toward him. If iniquity is in your hand, put it far away, and let no wickedness dwell in your tents. Surely then, you will lift up your face without blemish. You will be secure. You will not fear. You will forget your misery. You will remember it as waters that have passed away. And your life will be brighter than noonday. Its darkness will be like the morning. But the eye of the wicked will fail. All way of escape will be lost to them, and their hope is to breathe their last.
No doubt you are the people, and wisdom will die with you. But I have understanding as well as you. I am not in fear to you. Who does not know such things as these? In his hand is the life of every living thing, and the breath of all mankind. With him are strength and wisdom. The deceived and deceiver are his. He leads counselors away stripped, and judges he makes fools. He deprives of speech those who are trusted, and takes away the discernment of the elders. He uncovers the deeps out of darkness, and he brings deep darkness to light. He takes away understanding from the chiefs of the people of the earth, and makes them wander in a pathless lake. They grope in the dark without light, and it makes them stagger like drunken men. As for you, you whitewashed with lies, worthless physicians are you all. Oh, that you would keep silent, and it would be your wisdom. Your maxims are proverbs of ashes. Your defenses are defenses of clay. Let me have silence, and I will speak. And let come on me what may. I will put my flesh in my teeth and put my life in my hands. Behold, I have prepared my case, and I know that I shall be vindicated. Only grant me two things to me, then I will not hide myself from your face. Withdraw your hand far from me, and let not dread of you terrify me. Then call, and I will answer. Or let me speak, and do reply to me. How many are my iniquities and my sins? Make me know my transgression and my sin. Why do you hide your face from me and count me as your enemy? Will you frighten a driven leaf and pursue dry chaff? Man that is born of a woman is a few days and full of trouble. He comes forth like a flower and withers. He flees like a shadow and continues not. And do you open your eyes upon such a one and bring him into judgment with you? Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? There is not one. Since his days are determined, and the number of his months is with you, and you have appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Look away from him and desist, that he may enjoy like a hireling his day. For there is hope for a tree if it be cut down, and it will sprout again, and that its shoots will not cease. Though its root grows old in the earth, and its stump die in the ground, yet at the scent of water it will bud and put forth branches like a young plant. But man dies and is laid low. Man breathes his last. Where is he? So man lies down and rises not. Till the heavens are no more, he will not awake or be roused out of his sleep. Oh, that you would hide me in Sheol, that you would conceal me until your wrath be past, that you would appoint me a set time and remember me. If a man die, shall he live again? All the days of my service I would wait till my release should come.
You are doing away with the fear of God and hindering meditation before God. For your iniquities teach is your mouth, and you choose the tongue of the crafty. You own your mouth. Your own mouth condemns you, and not I. Your own lips testify against you. I will show you. Hear me. And what have I seen? I will declare. The wicked man writhes in pain all his days, through all the years that are laid up for the ruthless. Terrifying sounds are in his ears, and prosperity, the destroyer, will come upon him. He does not believe that he will return out of darkness, and he is destined for the sword. He wanders abroad for bread, saying, where is it? He knows that a day of darkness is ready at his hand. Distress and anguish terrify him. They prevail against him, like a king prepared for battle, because he has stretched forth his hand against God and bids defiance to the Almighty. He will not be rich, and his wealth will not endure, nor will he strike root in the earth. He will not escape from darkness. The flame will dry up his shoots, and his blossom will be swept away with the wind. Let him not trust in emptiness, deceiving himself, for emptiness will be his recompense.
I have heard many such things. Miserable comforters are you all. If I speak, my pain is not assuaged, and if I forbear, how much of it leaves me? Surely now God has poured me out. He has made me desolate, all my company. Men have gaped at me with their mouth. They have struck me instantly on the cheek. They massed themselves together against me. God gives me up to the ungodly and casts me into the hands of the wicked. My face is red with weeping, and on my eyelids is deep darkness. My friends scorn me. My eye pours out tears to God. My spirit is broken. My days are extinct. The grave is ready for me. Surely there are mockers about me, and my eye dwells under provocation. He has made me a byword of the people, and I am one before whom men spit. My eye has grown dim from grief, and all my members are like a shadow. Upright men are appalled at this, and the innocent stirs himself up against the godless. But you, come on again, all of you, and I shall not find a wise man among you. My days are past, my plans are broken off. The desires of my heart, they make night into day. The light, they say, is near to the darkness. If I look for Sheol as my house, if I spread my couch in darkness, if I say to the pit, you are my father, and to the worm, my mother or my sister, where then is my hope? Who will see my hope?
Yes, the light of the wicked is put out. The flame of his fire does not shine. The light is dark in his tent, and his lamp above him is put out. His strong steps are shortened, and his own schemes throw him down. Terror frightens him on every side and chases him at his heels. His roots dry up beneath, and his branches wither above. His memory perishes from the earth, and he has no name in the street. He is thrust from light into darkness and driven out of the world. He has no offspring or descendant among his people, and no survivor where he used to live.
How long will you torment me and break me in pieces with words? Behold, I cry out violence, but I have not answered. I call aloud, but there is no justice. He has walled up my way so that I cannot pass. He has set darkness above my paths. He has stripped me from my glory and taken a crown from my head. He breaks me down on every side, and I am gone. And my hope is pulled up like a tree.
Do you not know this from of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the exulting of the wicked is short, and the joy of the godless but for a moment? He will perish forever like his own dung. Those who have seen him will say, where is he? He will fly away like a dream and not be found. He will be chased away like a vision of the night. The eye which saw him will see him no more, nor will this place any more behold him. Utter darkness is laid up for his treasures. A fire not blown out will devour him. What is left in the tent will be consumed.
Look at me and be appalled, and lay your hand upon your mouth. When I think of it, I am dismayed, and shuddering seizes my flesh. Why do the wicked live, reach old age, and grow mighty in power? How often is the lamp of the wicked put out, that their calamity comes upon them, that God distributes pain in his anger? How then will you comfort me with empty nothings? There's nothing left of your answers but falsehood.
Is not your wickedness great? There is no end to your iniquities. Your light is darkened, so that you cannot see, and a flood of water covers you. Is not God in the heavens? See the highest star, how lofty they are. Therefore you say, what does God know? Can he judge through the deep darkness? Thick clouds enwrap him, so that he does not see, and he walks on the vault of heaven. You will keep to the old ways, which wicked men have trod. Agree with God and be at peace. Thereby good will come to you. Receive instruction from his mouth, and lay up his words in your heart. Then you will delight yourself in the Almighty, and lift up your face to God. You will decide on a matter, and it will be established for you, and the light will shine on your ways.
Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. On the left hand I seek him, but I cannot behold him. I turn to the right, I cannot see him. God has made me faint of heart. The Almighty has terrified me, for I am hemmed in by darkness, and thick darkness covers my face. Why are not the times of judgment kept by the Almighty? And why do not those who know him never see his days? Men remove landmarks. They seize flocks and pasture them. They thrust the poor off the road. The poor of the earth all hide themselves. They lie all night naked, without clothing, and have no covering in the cold. They are wet with the rain of the mountains and cling to the rock for want of shelter. There are those who rebel against the light, who are not acquainted with its ways, and do not stay in its paths. The murderer rises in the dark, that he may kill the poor and needy, and in the night he is as a thief. The eye of the adulterer also waits for the twilight, saying, no eye will see me. And he disguises his face. In the dark they dig through houses. By day they shut themselves up. They do not know the light. For deep darkness is morning to all of them, for they are friends with the terrors of deep darkness.
Dominion and fear are with God. He makes peace in his high heaven. Is there any number to his armies? Upon whom does his light not arise? How then can man be righteous before God? How can he who is born of woman be clean? Behold, even the moon is not bright, and the stars are not clean in his sight.
He binds up the waters in his thick clouds, and the clouds is not torn under them. Covers the face of the moon and spreads over it his clouds. He has described a circle upon the face of the waters, and at the boundary between light and darkness. The pillars of heaven tremble and are astounded at his rebuke. By his power he stilled the sea. By his understanding he struck Rahab. By his wind the heavens were made fair. His hand pierced the fleeing serpent. Behold, these are but the outskirts of his ways. How small a whisper do we hear of him? But the thunder of his power, who can understand? As God lives, who has taken away my right, and the Almighty who has made my soul bitter, as long as my breath is in me, and the Spirit of God is in my nostrils. My lips will not speak falsehood, and my tongue will not utter deceit. Far be it from me to say that you are right till I die. I will not put away my integrity from me. I hold fast to my righteousness and will not let it go. My heart does not reproach me for any of my days. I will teach you concerning the hand of God. What is with the Almighty, I will not conceal. This is the portion of the wicked man with God, and the heritage which oppressors receive from the Almighty. Terrors overtake him like a flood. In the night, a whirlwind carries him away. It sweeps him out of his place. It hurls him without pity. He flees from its power in headlong flight. It claps its hands at him, hisses at him from its place.
Surely there is a mine for silver, and a place for gold which they refine. Iron is taken out of the earth, and copper is smelted from the ore. Men put an end to darkness, and search out to the farthest bound. The ore is gloom and deep darkness. Man puts his hand to the flighty rock, and overturns mountains by the roots. He cuts out channels in the rocks, and his eye sees every precious thing. He binds up the streams so that they do not trickle, and the thing that is hidden he brings forth to light. But where shall wisdom be found, and where is the place of understanding? It is hidden from the eyes of all living. God understands the way to it, and he knows its place. For he looks to the ends of the earth, and sees everything under the heavens. When he gave to the wind its weight, and meted out the waters by measure, when he made a decree for the rain, and a way for the lightning of the thunder, then he saw it and declared it. He established it and stretched it out. And he said to man, Behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding.
Oh, that I were as in the months of old, as in the days when God watched over me, when his lamp shone upon my head, and by his light I walked through the darkness. And now my soul is poured out within me. Days of affliction have taken hold of me. The night racks my bones. And the pain that gnaws me takes no rest. I cry to you, and you do not answer me. I stand, and you do not heed me. You have turned cruel to me. With the might of your hand you persecute me. You lift me up on the wind. You make me ride on it, and you toss me about in the roar of a storm. Yes, I know that you will bring me to death and to the house appointed for all the living. But when I looked for good, evil came. And when I waited for light, darkness came. My heart is in turmoil and is never still. Days of affliction come to meet me. I go about blackened, but not by the sun. I stand up in the assembly and cry for help. Oh, that I had one to hear me. Here is my signature. Let the Almighty answer.
Behold, my heart is like wine that has no bit. Like new wineskins, it is ready to burst. I must speak, that I may find relief. I must open my lips and answer. But now, hear my speech, O Job. Listen to all my words. Behold, I open my mouth, The tongue in my mouth speaks. Why do you condemn against him, saying, he will answer none of my words? For God speaks in one way, and in two, though man does not perceive it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon men.
No, you can do that. I'm saying that was his line. I'm just making fun of him.
When deep sleep falls upon men, they slumber on their beds. Then he opens the ears of men and terrifies them with warnings. Man is also chastened with pain in his bed, and will continue, and with continued strife in his bones. Then man prays to God, and he accepts him. He comes into his presence with joy. He recounts to men his salvation, and he sings before men and says, he has reckoned my soul from going down into the pit, and my life shall see the light. Behold, God
does all these
Behold, God does all these things, twice, 3 times, with a man to bring back his soul from the pit, that he may see the light of life. Give heed, O Job, listen to me. Be silent, and I will speak. Hear my words, you wise men, and give ear to me, you who know. Of a truth, God will not do wickedly, and the Almighty will not pervert justice. Shall one who hates justice govern? Will you condemn him who is righteous and mighty? In a moment, they die. At midnight, the people are shaken and pass away, and the mighty are taken away by no human hand. For his eyes are upon the ways of a man, and he sees all his steps. There is no gloom or deep darkness where evildoers may hide themselves, for he has not appointed a time for any man to go before God in judgment. Thus, knowing their works, he overturns them in the night, and they are crushed. He strikes them for their wickedness in the sight of men. When he is quiet, who can condemn? When he hides his face, who can behold him? Whether it be a nation or a man, that a godless man should not reign, that he should not ensnare the people. For has anyone said to God, I have borne chastisement, I will not offend anyone. Teach me what I do not see. If I have done iniquity, I will do it no more. When he then make repayment to suit you, because you reject it? For you must choose, and not I. Therefore declare what you know. Men of understanding will say to me, and the wise man who hears me will say, Job speaks without knowledge. His words are without insight. Would that Job were judged to the end, because he answers like wicked men. For he aids rebellion to sin. He claps his hands among us and multiplies his words against God. Look at the heavens and see. Behold the clouds which are higher than you. If you have sinned, what do you accomplish against him? And if your transgressions are multiplied, what do you do to him? Because of the multitude of oppressions, people cry out. They call for help because of the arm of the Almighty. But none says, Where is God my Maker, who gives songs in the night? Surely God does not hear an empty cry, nor does the Almighty regard it. How much less when you say that you do not see him, for the case is before him, and you are waiting for him. Job opens his mouth in empty talk. He multiplies his words without knowledge. Behold, God is mighty and does not despise any. He is mighty in strength of understanding. He does not keep the wicked alive, but gives the afflicted their right. But you are full of judgment on the wicked. Judgment and justice seize you. Will your cry avail to keep you from distress, or all the force of your strength? Do not long for the night when peoples are cut off in their place. Take heed, and do not turn to iniquity, for this you have chosen rather than affliction. Behold, God is exalted in his power. Who is a teacher like him? Remember to extol his work, of which men have sung. All men have looked on it. Man beholds it from afar. Behold, God is great, and we know him not. The number of his years is unsearchable, for he draws up the drops of water. He distills his mist and rain, which the skies pour down, and drop upon man abundantly. Can anyone understand the spreading of the clouds, the thunderings of his pavilion? Behold, he scatters his lightning about him and covers the roots of the sea. He covers his hands with the lightning and commands it to strike the mark. Its crashing declares concerning him, who is jealous with anger against iniquity? And this also my heart trembles and leaps out of its place. Listen to the thunder of his voice and the rumbling that comes from his mouth. Under the whole heaven he lets it go, and his lightning to the corners of the earth. After it his voice roars. He thunders with his majestic voice, and he does not restrain the bolts of lightning when his voice is heard. God thunders wondrously with his voice. He does great things which we cannot comprehend. From its chamber comes the whirlwind, and cold from the scattering winds. He loads the thick cloud with moisture. The clouds scatter his lightning. They turn round and round by his guidance to accomplish all that he commands them. On the face of the habitable world, whether for correction or for his hand, or for love, he causes it to happen. Hear this, O Job. Stop and consider the wondrous works of God. Do you know how God lays his command upon them and causes the lightning of his cloud to shine? Do you know the balancing of the clouds, the wondrous works of him who is perfect in knowledge? Teach us what we shall say to him. We cannot draw up our case because of darkness. Shall it be told him that I would speak? Speak? Did a man ever wish that he would be swallowed up? And now men cannot look on the light when it is bright in the skies. When the wind has passed and cleared them, out of the north comes a golden splendor. God is clothed with awesome majesty. The Almighty, we cannot find him. He is great in power and justice, and abundant righteousness he will not violate. Therefore, men, fear him. He does not regard any who are wise in their own conceit.
Who is this that darkens counsel by words?
I gotta hear it.
Knowledge.
Gird up your loins like a man. I will question you, and you shall declare to me, where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me, if you have understanding. When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Have you commanded the morning since your days began, and caused the dawn to know its place, that it might take hold of the skirts of the earth, and the wicked be shaken out of it? From the wicked their light is withheld, and their uplifted arms broken. Where is the way to the dwelling of light? Where is the place of darkness? That you may take it to its territory, and that you may discern the paths to its home. You know, for you were born then, and the number of your days is great. What is the way to the place where the light is distributed, or where the east wind is scattered upon the earth?
I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. Who is this that hides counsel with knowledge? Therefore I have uttered what I did not understand, things too wonderful for me, which I did not know. Hear, and I will speak. I will question you, and you declare to me. I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you. Therefore I despise myself, and repent in ashes.
And Job died, an old man and full of days.
Did you notice that when he died, it turns to light? Did anybody catch that metaphorical play? Because it's at death when he actually gets life. Huh? So, again, I think there's something to this. And that may this be an exercise actually what I call radical imagination. Now that was an hour class. But it's good, if we would have done this before we actually studied the text, you wouldn't have been able to follow along as well. Like those of you who have been through the number of the different monologues and me explain it, knowing the dynamics of the character stuff, you can see how something like this is very useful. But notice the mechanic of it. We went through the book in detail, and now we just went over it again really briefly. And by going over things again, you continue to learn. That's really what I want to stress to you. I did this in order to keep you interested in going over it again in a quick, rapid way. We have probably one more class left on the book of Job. I gave you a sneak peek at Yahweh's monologues, and it is kind of interesting that it kind of refers to mourning a bunch of times right there when he starts speaking. So I don't know. I think there's something to the dawn of the Lord's day, which is the third day, and the discourse during the night. It's a very nocturnal book on wisdom, which in itself seems to be a contradiction. But seeing how its main message is that you don't know, that's actually kind of poetic too, I think. So next Thursday, notwithstanding anything else, I'm going to do a quick lecture, and I'm going to show you outside archaeological sources and outside cultural things to the Leviathan. I'm going to give you Egyptian, I'm going to give you Akkadian, and Canaan. References Leviathan. And then we're going to read Yahweh's monologues, because he's going to give the actual longest description of the Leviathan. And we should finish up the book of Job. And then we'll do a short recess, and then I'll come up with what I'm going to do next. Okay? Thank you for all coming, huh? Just so you know, we didn't practice this once. And so I really want to thank these guys. I was like the angel of death. I just giving them